Welcome, everybody. Great to have you all here. I know you've got busy lives to attend to, but it's not often that we have opportunity of a company of the stature of Discovery almost opening the doors and say, let's have a conversation. Let's look under the hood on stuff that works for us and just get some insight around why they are so successful. And I think having two people at the table driving a lot of the success, having a conversation is part of what tonight is about. So I'll start off with a little Discovery story of myself. I started speaking to you about it. When I was at Nike many moons ago, selling sneakers and apparel, Nike was in the tech wearables space, the first company to go really hard into it. We had something called a fuel band. I don't know, did anybody have a Nike fuel band? Yes. Yeah, you were way ahead of your time, you know? Yeah, and it was measuring, it was basically award every day, and it was the same thing of just measuring all your physical activity. And I remember being summoned to the office of your chief executive and your head of marketing at the time, you know. And the question was, young man, we see this in the market, this thing called the fuel band. Our vision is to make sure that every one of our members gets a fuel band. Can you make sure Nike makes this happen, you know? And I remember having a talk to the global team at Nike. They're like, what? Where's this company? In Africa? And what do they want to do? No, we're not there yet, you know? And it struck me at the time that here's a South African company that understands the use of technology, that wants to integrate it into their business and wants to give it to all their members. And here I'm working for a global multinational that couldn't see the vision of getting it done. First, long story short, it didn't happen with Nike. And today, if I see how you've integrated wearables, I think you're probably the number one purchaser of smart Apple watches in the UK, as an example, and in South Africa. Now, I call UK out because I think the numbers are much higher. Yeah, that's phenomenal. Yeah. So I think I'll start with you, Feroz. That's a story of just showing how innovation and forward thinking the company is. And yeah, where do you see that stem from, and just how does it feel working in a space like that?
I guess it's daunting because
of course,
you're surrounded by very intelligent people, exceptionally intelligent people. But I think where it comes from is there's a real entrepreneurial spirit that pervades Discovery. It's unique. It's a big corporate that's still very much run by founders. So a lot of the people that I interact with daily are the founders of this business. And so you get a very different kind of feel to when you work in another big corporate that's run by managers, FNB, Standard Bank, Vodacom. They're all great leaders in their own right, but they are managers. They've been brought in subsequently. Adrian's a founder, Neville's a founder. You know, these people grew up with the business and they've got a vested interest in it, as owners do. So what drives that is an entrepreneurial spirit, but also when you speak to these individuals, they're driven innately by a core purpose that anchors the business, right? Which is about making people healthier. And they constantly reminded why they started this business. And when you speak to them, they'll tell you, if we keep working towards that anchor, the money will follow, the business will follow, but you stay true to what you believe in. And they started out with that. And when Adrian was at Liberty all those years ago, he had a vision. And it was to make people healthy. And how could you do that? By transforming a medical aid to be something more. And hence the start of the medical savings account. People didn't share that vision. He went somewhere else to share that vision with somebody else. And I think they teach that case study at GIBS, right? And you need to stick with that vision. You need to stick with what it is that you believe is important. And you work through the issues. The one thing I learned from him, this is sounding more like a leadership course, but the one thing I've learned from him is that you stay with the problem. He had a vision. Everybody's going to have a wearable. He went to Nike. Nike said, no,
Nike didn't see it.
Right?
Yeah.
He went to Apple. Now Apple knows us.
Yeah.
Right? As biggest resellers of Apple Watch in two key markets. Another, still a very small company in South Africa, but Apple knows who we are. Right? So that for me is the lesson. They stick with it. They stick to a purpose, and they stick with the problem longer, and they emerge with a solution. Who would have thought you launch a bank in 2018, 19, somewhere around there.
2019.
We launched a bank. You have 4 or 5 very big players in South Africa, successful, well-run banks, insanely successful. Why would you start another one? Are we more successful now?
The tech part, yeah, it's becoming a big part of the marketing mix, yeah, and how businesses go to market. What has been the journey at Discovery in terms of integrating tech on how you guys go forward?
Technology has basically become the manifestation of our product. So we've really, we were the first insurer to launch a BlackBerry app for quoting for car insurance way back. I can't remember what year that was.
Who had a BlackBerry? Maybe the people that don't know what BlackBerry was, yeah. I was going to ask who still has a BlackBerry, then you won't be in the room.
I still miss that keyboard, man. It solved the real problem.
Yeah, the first thing you do when you meet someone is say, "What's your PIN? Your BlackBerry PIN?" Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really. With the onset of technology, we've all got our lives on our phones at the moment, all of us, and the fact that we've really embraced that specific part of technology and made it part of our product offering. So it's an essential part of how people interact with all of our Discovery products. So what has the journey been? From a marketing point of view, it really started off when ownership of the website was moved from systems and given to marketing. So that was like a fundamental change, and that's actually when I joined the team, because they were looking like, who's going to be the person that runs this project? So I moved from my UK business to the Discovery marketing team, and then from there we started measuring what's actually happening. So we did a big website redesign across all the products. I'm sure many of you have been involved in that interesting types of projects. But then we started measuring using my absolute favorite tool, Google Analytics. We were the first clients of Google Analytics Premium, or whatever it was called at the time, in South Africa. And the moment it started the measurement, and when we started measuring how many people are coming to the website today, how many people are clicking on this banner versus that banner, it really unlocked that how powerful it can be as a marketing instrument. And in those days, Google was knocking at our door all the time saying, why aren't you advertising with us? We're like, no, we don't have to. Everyone knows Discovery. They'll just come to us. And then when we launched our direct to consumer business, obviously, that's when it all started making sense.
I think it's a perfect segue into chief marketing technologist, It might be a concept that's a bit foreign to some people in the audience. Yeah, and the concept of actually having technology embedded in the marketing department. In the US, it's actually quite common. It's growing. I think the average stat is around 20% of companies in the US have technology embedded in the marketing department. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the role. Why chief marketing technologist? And how do you engage within the business? Obviously, you still have a CIO as an example, but just how does it come to life, and what does it look like in terms of day-to-day engagement with the rest of the marketing department?
That's your role.
Okay. I told him this is going to be my title. Give it to me.
She told me this is what my title is going to be.
That's a beautiful title.
It is beautiful. No, but just following on what Lido was saying earlier. Yes, we sell insurance. Yes, we sell banking products. But I see what us fundamentally putting in front of the consumer is new technology. The consumer now demands seamless journeys. They demand an intuitive interaction with your company, with your brand. So while the underlying product is as old as time, banking and insurance, how we present that to the consumer, how we present that for them to engage with how to buy it is what differentiates us. So when you speak to people about what they love about Discovery, and I'm not going to take any Discovery health queries, concerns, or complaints at this lady. But when you speak to people about it, what they find most enduring is the innovation. And that comes through only because of not just what we drive through in the product, but how it's presented. The stuff that Leader and her team do every day, the accessibility, the navigation, the overall experience, how intuitive the connection of all of these data points work together to give you a very unique, bespoke consumer experience is the bulk of what we do. That's what we sell. And so, and I need to hand over to her because she'll speak to it much better than I can, but we like to think that we own that experience for the customer as Discovery Marketing. The guys can go off and build very clever products. I mean, these actuaries are very, very clever. But what we need to do is make sure that we give it we package it in a way that the customer wants to buy it.
Yeah.
Yes. So I guess the difference, should we start with the difference between what's a technologist versus the CIO? So technologists typically are the ones focusing on innovation and searching for tech solutions, either building solutions or buying solutions that drives innovation. Where the CIO's responsibility is mostly focused on security, stability, and making sure delivery happens. So it's around productivity and managing the big team of developers within Discovery and any other business. So we've got a dedicated squad of business analysts, product owners, UX designers, and developers. But they sit under the CIO structure because those are the people that understand them and they know how to manage and motivate them and grow their careers. However, we control their budget. So the head sits within our budget, and we therefore also manage their backlog and their pipeline. And we also sign off their requirement. We sign off the requirements and we sign off the solutions before they go live. The reason why you need a technology team within marketing is because you need people that understand marketing and can therefore go out and constantly scan the environment for what are the latest solutions out there and find use cases which we can actually implement. So that can't sit within tech because they don't understand the marketing use cases.
The balance between people and technology, How do we ensure, and this may be a challenge and a question to you, is that how do you ensure that the balance of people and technology is maintained within Discovery? That tech is not just driving everything. Everything is very personal. I think you come across as a very personal brand in terms of how you engage. But how do you end up balancing the tension between tech and people?
I think tech for tech's sake is a red herring. People develop and you chase technology for the sake of technology. I think if it aids your business and if it aids the customer experience, that's a good litmus for you to use, right? As an example, so you want to declutter what is fundamentally a very boring category, which is insurance, and you can enhance that through the use of tech, make it simpler for the consumer. But a lot of these kind of products need advice. And it's a compliance requirement, for there to be adequate advice when you're selling these things, and you can get that through using tech, etc. But it's interesting to see how the interplay between a personal conversation and the appropriate use of tech enhances the experience and actually the throughput. So I'll give you an example. We've got these experience stores around the country: Sea Point, Discovery Place, Menlyn, Umhlanga, I'm missing one. Somewhere else. Oh, Century City. And effectively, these are like Apple stores, if you like, right? You come in there, you experience Discovery in a very Apple-esque kind of environment. But you get to speak to somebody who is well-versed on everything to do with how to get to diamond status on Vitality, and also how to integrate with all of your other Discovery products so that you get the maximum benefit of the ecosystem. You could do everything that you needed to do online, except obviously a Vitality health check. But the interactions that we see with our colleagues on the ground at those Discovery stores, the difference between the levels of engagement of a person that walks into that store and speaks to another individual versus somebody who's purely online is fundamentally different. because you're using the technology to aid the conversation, but you're not replacing the individual.
Yeah.
And that for me is a fundamental difference. We're seeing it come through on how we activate bank customers. Just that interaction with somebody, you get somebody bought into the bank and using the banks in a much different way than somebody who's just left to their own devices and going through an AO journey on their own online. Very effective, very efficient, right? And it's fantastic. Low cost of entry, a very profitable customer, but it lacks something. Our core business is about making people healthier, and we're an insurer, so you've got to manage risk, right? So that's what we do every day. We're managing the risk out there. So that's fundamental. Interestingly, something like the potholes and even the fire force is about managing risk. Yes, it's a social good. We always said it's part of our values. We'll be a force for social good. So making people healthier is a force for social good, but also managing other forms of risk, right? So who's hit a pothole here in the past couple of months and caused extensive damage to your car. The people that are paying for that extensive damage is Discovery and other insurers. We can demonstrate, and we're in the process of demonstrating quantitatively, that if you eliminate the pothole risk, how does that impact your book? How does it impact the risk on your book, right? So yes, it's helping society. People love us for it. Thank you for loving us for it. But it does help the risk profile, right? So you see lower claims comes through in the shared value model. So people drive better, right? It adds value to the company creates a surplus. We share that back through society by creating a nation of better drivers, better roads, fewer claims. It comes full circle. That's the shared value model at play. Fire force, same thing. I can't remember the stats on fire, but there's a significant amount, because you're talking about homes being insured, the quantum of claims taken by fire. And it's unfortunate that the Joburg Metropolitan, I think, has, I'm going to get it wrong, but I'm going to say it's something like 2 fire trucks servicing the greater Joburg Metro. It's woefully inadequate. And you guys heard about this arsonist that's walking around, right? So he's going into north of Joburg and he enjoys playing with lion matches. So, to have additional capacity that's serving the community through a public-private partnership is good for the community, but it helps us manage the risk. Doesn't mean that if you're not insured with Discovery, that blue fire truck won't pitch up and hose your house. It will still do that, because that's the force for social good at play, but it also manages risk.
I like how this force for social good is embedded in your business. I think you've got actuaries running the show, Everything, even if it is for social good, needs to come back to the core value of the business, which means it won't be a flash in the pan activity. This is the core what you do. Our social good helps our business as well, and it helps our consumer. And I think everybody's trying to find the balance around social good and business sense. But just as a brand, I think Discovery comes across as a very personal brand. You have a personal relationship with Discovery, And the question is, how are you able to really personalize at scale? Because you've got so many consumers, and everybody feels that I have a relationship with Discovery. How do you manage that personal touch with consumers at scale, given your size as business, and look at the amount of consumers that you have now across banking and the other parts of your business as well?
I'm going to say a little bit, but I want Lida to expand on it. But it's our unique ability to aggregate, manage, interpret, analyze data. It's no secret. Discovery aggregates a huge amount of data. We understand enough about your health, where you stand right now, and what that journey needs to look like to make sure that you remain healthy or get healthier. We understand your driving. We understand your banking.
Don't tell about my Discovery age. I've got my age and I've got my Discovery age. You don't go there.
So imagine coalescing all of these seemingly random data points, driving and health, and who would have thought? But the ability to coalesce all of this stuff into a manner that tells me a very robust and comprehensive story about Anwar, I can start to personalize at scale. So, that's a lot of what Lida and them do, is the ability to aggregate this data in a way and she'll speak, I'm sure, about things like next best action and those kind of things, where we systemize and codify data to the point where you feel that personalization. How did they know I need this? It's because of the data.
And I think that's the question. How do you maintain that seamless feel to it?
So for Rose is a sponsor of Discovery's personalization capability with the personalization engine. I don't know whether if any of you are in corporates and are involved in those projects. I think everyone's got one of them on their to-do list at the moment. And the fact that project sits within marketing, I think it's significant as well, because we own that client experience. But we do have to work with people across all the businesses, obviously. It starts with working with our data science guys, the actuaries. And then the tricky bit is getting that data. How do you get it to the consumer in the front end? So that the data engineers, so that's the one thing we underestimated, like the ratio of data engineers in relation to data scientists. Don't underestimate it, because they're the ones that need to get that data and then put it in a way that we can interpret it, and the front end can actually serve it to the client in real time. But there, once again, I mean, we've learned a lot from what you guys at Google do and what the guys at TikTok do. I mean, they are the absolute masters in understanding, like, taking real-time data and personalizing that experience. We're not quite there yet, but watch this space.
And how easily do you share data across the org and still managing things like trust and safety of data?
Sure, it was a big project. Leader led that project, but we have to be meticulous about how we share data between our different companies. Somebody buying into health relative to vitality, to life, then to the bank. Obviously everybody knows about Poppy, and the ability to move data between those entities it's very regulated. I mean, we are watched, as is every other financial institution, watch very carefully in terms of how we manage our data. So we have very strict protocols in place, and we ring fence and we treat data with the utmost care, because that is the currency we trade in, actually. You know, we sell insurance, but what makes Discovery what it is our ability to manage data. And so we treat that with the utmost respect.
Any exciting data insights that you had that end up leading to a new product offering or a new business opportunity?
People that's on higher vitality health statuses. So these are people that look after their health and that exercise more, and they go for their checks every year and those type of things. Those type of people claim less on weather claims. So that's like hail damage and stuff for your car. And so what we think it may be is that people that's more conscientious and that's willing to go through the steps to get to diamond status are actually also those that would look at the weather and go, hang on, I better get my car under cover.
Exactly. They're not in front of the TV watching and binging. They're outside running, say, actually, it's going to hail now. Maybe I move my car inside. But that's a phenomenal correlation and insight around, and you wouldn't think the two are connected at all.
Well, similarly, people that are conscientious about their health are less likely to default on their debt. So, you got to be careful with these things, because it's nuanced. Yeah. But like you could argue at a very superficial level, I guess, is that a vitality diamond status health person is probably going to be a very good risk customer from a banking perspective. How does one solve a problem like Eskom? The question is, I don't know. But you got to be very careful. I think you got to be cognizant of the fact that you're not meant to play the role of the state. We've had endless issues with things like the pothole patrol and the fire force, in that you seem to be upstaging what government should be doing, and that's not the intent. The intent is a public-private partnership is meant to help society. And I hope that that's the spirit in which people take it. Obviously, consumers, societies engage, they love it, and that's fantastic. But as a big corporate in South Africa, you've got to be careful that you don't alienate a very key stakeholder. And so we need to work with government on these things.
Coming from a marketing background, being in tech, what do you think the challenges are in our industry? What do you think the big challenges are?
Talent, getting people with the skills, and then keeping them.
And a different kind of skill, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, from just finding people that's got the right experience and the right skills, but then holding on to them because everyone is exploding. So people are just grabbing these guys. To go back to like, how do you get the skills? I mean, the people that we look for, what I love about digital marketing, it's completely democratized. You don't need a degree. Like most of the things that you need to know are all available for free from Facebook Blue, what's the training called? Can't remember. And then the
Google Skills for Africa, yeah.
It's all available for free. So go and do those things, make the time one weekend and go sit and do those courses and get your certifications and keep them up to date. Because that's the first thing I look for, like, have they done these? And we love to take graduates in and get them, you know what, once you just need a good logical mind and you know, and then complete these courses, and these tools the interfaces are really easy to use, in my view.
How do you think the tech marketing partnership and collaboration could be taken forward in a lot of other companies?
Tech marketing in our world means something very different, by the way. There's a lot of actuaries in that space. How to take it forward? Jeez, I don't know. I think, you know, what's fundamentally different with Discovery is that we are a marketing-led organization. Adrian oversaw marketing directly. You know, he's innately involved. He's asking me questions all the time about how we're marketing this initiative. It's vital. His favorite word to me is, how have you framed this for us? Is the positioning right? You know, so the difference with us, and I'm comparing it to environments that I've been before, bar perhaps Coca-Cola, is a marketing-driven organization. And we do work with the consumer in mind. We may not ask them directly what they want, but I think what we are mastering is we infer correctly because of our data. We've got a very unique ability to do that. And so with that insight, we can develop with great accuracy and with the customer first.
Do you think we'll have more marketing, chief marketing technologists in South Africa appearing over the period?
Definitely after this talk, I think.
Yeah, so rewrite your job spec, go and pitch it to your CEO. Yeah.
Grab it for someone else does.
We'll see all the competitors, leaders. Like tomorrow, they're going to have a bunch of them.
But I mean, it is absolutely, to win at marketing, you can't not use technology today. I mean, our digital advertising spend overtook our traditional media spend 2 years ago already, pre-COVID years. I mean, so you do.
Thank you.
We do need, you really need an understanding of how these platforms work and how to properly optimize them. So, so even if you use an agency, you do need people that understand what the agency is doing, and so that you know what to ask the agency to do for you. So I can't see companies succeeding without embedding technology within their marketing departments.
We're having this exactly what Lita's saying. Our digital spends overtaken traditional media 2 years ago, you said, right? And orders of magnitude difference, right? And MultiChoice, I mean, we're a key client of MultiChoice, right? But the conversations I have with the likes of Famida is, you know, to what extent are you starting to integrate with other online players? Programmatic is becoming a big thing. How do you going to start? I can attribute, every time we buy something from Google, I can directly attribute a sale and value, embedded value of a customer to that particular dollar that was invested there. I can't do the same on traditional media. And the sooner we start to advance to that, it's better, because at the moment it's hard to justify the levels of investment.